I sent the agenda for the day to my colleagues in America, and they said, "Going after the guys from Estonia, that's going to be a bit of a challenge, mate. They're digital rock stars. Good luck." It's like, oh, it comes with a vote of confidence that really comes to my nerves. So I'm really glad to have to go up first and run after those guys. And that's worked out well. As I said, here to talk about the digital revolution and what it means for channel shift in government. Why hasn't it been achieved just yet? First, a little bit about Squiz. Just an introduction. We started 16 years ago, primarily servicing the government sector. We're a privately owned company. 3 of us have founded it. We've now got over 450 full-time staff, and we're a modern blend of software developer, services provider, and consultancy. When we say a modern blend, we believe that those 3 things need to go together to achieve digital transformation. So we act as partners to our customers to help them achieve their transformation goals. Early last year, we partnered with a company called Verint. You might know them as Karno or Largan. Why am I bringing this up so early in my presentation? Well, at Squiz, we've been developing really, really beautiful user experiences and websites and intranets and things like this for over 16 years. But what always frustrated me with, particularly with council websites we developed, was this great experience, this great user journey that would flow through, and they'd hit the transactional bit and be palmed off to some 90s era registration process and a series of ugly forms that they would have to fill out time and time and time again. And it broke the user journey, it broke the customer experience. And that disconnect always troubled me. So by partnering with Verint, we were actually able to design end-to-end services. So all the way from the beautiful website up front through the actual transaction that the citizen goes through to complete their goals. And that's why that partnership is so important to us. So what's happening right now? The citizens' expectations have changed immensely in the last 10 years, probably more in the 1,000 years that went before it. And the reason for that is they've come to work across many different channels when interacting with an organisation. So sometimes it's the mobile phones, sometimes it's the call centre, sometimes it's in person, all of these different channels. And they expect organisations to remember who they are and what they've been told. So if they give you information on a mobile device, they expect the person in the call centre to know what they're talking about. Now, we've got many examples where this doesn't happen. I had a recent one with the university actually where there's a beautiful mobile application for applying for university courses, basically what they're selling. And I went through the application process. I was about to choose the course, and I pretended that my data signal dropped out, and I called the call centre. They had no idea what I was talking about. They had no idea. And so the customer experience was broken at that point because the multiple channels didn't know what each other was doing. They didn't know what I'd already told them, which breaks the whole thing. We're also facing increased urbanisation and budgetary pressures, and this is forcing the issue. So if I think of the leading lights in digital transformation, countries like Estonia have done an amazing job. Also in Denmark, they've managed to get 79 services online and 80% user adoption of digital channels to interact with those services. But that required a huge promotional budget, a lot of PR, huge amount of intergovernmental cooperation, all driven by legislation from central government. Now, a lot of that is beyond the realms of a local government authority to do on their own. You just can't. And they're only dealing with 79 services, whereas the government's dealing with 700 to 800. So this is there's a big difference there in what can be expected of a local authority. So it is pretty tough at the moment, I think. And that's why we haven't kept up with the changes that are going on in the channel shift arena. The private sector has invested very, very heavily in creating these unified customer experiences and unifying their processes and the different channels that people operate with them in. But the government hasn't been able to keep up through mainly lack of investment. So what we see as barriers to this whole channel shift problem is we conducted a survey of all of our customers. So we've got 645 responses to this survey from IT professionals and communications professionals and senior executives. And out of that survey, a few common themes came up as to why they feel they haven't achieved channel shift right now. The first one was that they felt like their website was built for the council and not the citizen. So people were designing websites based on the departmental objectives within the council, individual service lines, individual departments, individual needs. not focusing on how the citizen wanted to engage with the council from their point of view. It was all done from the internal point of view. The second one, which is still something I can't quite believe, is that they saw the website as a luxury, as it's something to be invested in, but not too much. You know? And I think of my local council, and I won't tell you where I live because I don't want to tell the council's name. Or anyone here from GCHQ can just look it up, I imagine. My council invested very, very heavily in the in-person experience. So when I go up to the council offices, I have this beautiful process. It's all colour-coded. I know exactly where I'm going. There's digital kiosks everywhere. The whole thing is just seamless. And it's actually really enjoyable, surprisingly. But when I think about it, I think, I've got a digital kiosk in my hand. It's my phone. And they've got no mobile phone application. The website hasn't been updated in the 10 years that I've lived in the council, in the borough. And so the digital experience lags so far behind what I get when I go in person, yet they're trying to get me to use digital services, not go in person. But the easiest thing for me to do is walk up there and just get what I want done. It doesn't make any sense. So the digital channel is not a luxury, it's something to be invested in just as heavily as in-person experience. So in that I see a lack of leadership, and this has been acknowledged in the sort of the middle management tier. As part of the survey, we divided into tiers of different job roles. And in the middle management tier is a lack of senior leadership, like people not investing in the digital experience, not giving them the backing and the unified vision to go after their goals. There's also this concept of upfront budgetary demands. So when someone designs a program of work, they say, here's the outcomes we want, here's a chunk of money, here's a tender, fill it out, we'll choose the cheapest, best, depending, and we'll get it done. Now, that upfront budget demand denies the fact that digital transformation is a journey, it's not a destination. So really, if you told a vendor like us, here's some outcomes we have to achieve, but we've also set aside some agile budget to deal with things as they come up, we will give you a much better response than we will responding to the previous example. Because the previous example is fixed, it creates barriers to innovation, and we can't work together. Whereas if we have an agile approach, we can work together and deal with things as they come up. Now, poor UX and the skills gap, I see these things as the same thing. So the skills gap is a tough one because we invest in, Google sets the benchmark, we invest in a beautiful office with a fake lawn and an office dog and free breakfast and free lunch and healthcare and health allowances, and we basically take care of everyone's adult responsibilities and just let them work. That's the expectation that's been set by Google. Now, we attract people who don't want to go somewhere like Google, they don't want to be a cog in the wheel, they want to make a difference. But we still compete for those people very, very, very toughly. So how can a local authority attract the kind of skills that we're trying to attract into a council environment? How's that going to work? I can't see them choosing that over what we're offering. So that's a problem for us as well as you, because what we find is that when we can empower a council to do their own work, the council loves us. When the council becomes reliant on us to do all of the work, they hate us. Why? Because we get so expensive that it just doesn't make any sense anymore, and people don't feel empowered to do their own job. So this skills gap is a problem for everybody, not just the vendors, not just the councils, the local authorities. We still see a lot of analog first strategies, so things that come out saying, here's the experience we've got, here's all the different portals we have, here's the contact center software we have, you have to fit in with that, don't reimagine it, just fit in with it, which again creates barriers to innovation. The next one is internal silos. So typically when we start an engagement, we actually come across a whole heap of challenges internally that have nothing to do with what we're trying to achieve. Nothing to do with the platform, the digital experience, nothing. It's infighting, and it's a lack of a common vision. And these silos have to be broken down and united and that kind of thing. So we spend months and months at the beginning of a project trying to do that. The next thing that came up in the survey was badly communicated change. So there might have been a decision made saying we have to innovate with our website or mobile application, but none of the rest of the council hasn't been communicated properly down the chain. So no one's bought into it yet. So when we go in, we're surprising people, and that's actually a really difficult place to be because somebody's trying to help you. The next thing is like sometimes our technology is brought as the solution to all of the problems. And it never is. It's a catalyst for change within the organisation. A broader change that is digital transformation. It's not a solution in and of itself. Next one's fear of change. So it's a lot of HR issues that we come up against as well. So people will battle against the changes that are happening to their job and not be on board with it. So the HR processes haven't been thought through either. So then you get into a whole HR discussion too. And the last one is unintegrated systems. So we have these massively unintegrated programs of work that are all departmental and siloed, and they don't actually talk to each other. So creating a unified experience to the end user, the citizen, is actually impossible when you're just flicking between all these different things. It doesn't make any sense. So we have to then go through an integration program as well. So that's all the barriers. That's a whole bunch of customer experience challenges, and I'm telling you all the problems. But that's a whole bunch of customer experience challenges that people haven't come across yet. Now, there's a slide in this that's missing from this deck, actually. But I just want to talk about it briefly. It's a guy called John Kofter, and he wrote a paper called Leading Change in 2006. And this paper isn't about digital transformation. It's not about technology. It's not about anything to do with the website or anything like that. It's about changing the organisation. And in that, you can send a link around when we send the presentations through. There's 8 steps to changing an organisation. And he argues that if you don't go through the 8 steps, you can't actually change. And I think that instead of thinking of this as a digital problem, you should actually go back to some of the thinking that's been done before about transforming companies and helping people to go through change. Because that's what we're actually doing. If the technology is a catalyst, then we have to help our staff and our managers change the way they work to make the citizen experience better. So how's this customer experience thing come about? Well, a few years back, the whole user experience revolution took off. And we kind of liked it because it's good website design practice. You look at personas of people you're trying to help. You map out the journeys they want to go on. And you make your website, make that journey as easy as possible. Right? Which is great. But then that doesn't take into account all the other touch points. That's where this customer experience things come from. It's about expanding that practice to include the contact center, the in-person experience, and having all touch points work together to deliver a unified customer experience. This is actually a long one. So to drive this challenge, you need to have a complete framework and approach to digital transformation, which actually often includes a management change program as well. And having a unified approach to all of that will allow you to achieve this goal of channel shift. It's about transforming our own organisations, so unifying them so that they can then be presented to a citizen in a unified manner, and in a way that they can interact with. So just to wrap up, we've got a dedicated website for this topic. It's called Citizen First Digital Journeys. And I draw your attention to one thing on there. It's called the Public Sector's Customer Experience Challenge. It's a white paper we've written. It's been very well received, and I'd encourage you all to download that after this presentation. So, thank you very much.
To mull over that. You mentioned in particular the challenge of the skills agenda, and I guess I'm interested in the partnership. How do you get the best from business? How do you get the best from in-house teams and local authorities? What kind of skills, what kind of people, what kind of roles do you need to be in local authorities in order to be able to do what you do well to deliver the best?
I think before the program starts, if there's a strong leadership council that's formed, like it doesn't have to be digital or technology specialists or anything like that. Once that leadership council's there, we can then work with them to identify the roles they need in each department to then facilitate the change. And there might be people that we can train and empower to fulfill those roles, or that might require some external recruitment to do it. But we find that unless we train those people up and fill those gaps in any skills, the authority becomes too reliant on us, and that's where the relationship starts to break down. So it's actually a program of going through departments and identifying where the gaps are, and seeing how we're going to fill them. It could be through training, it could be through recruitment.
It's a big challenge, really big challenge. Do we have some questions from the floor? Yes, gentlemen there, and throughout today, if you can just give your name, organisation, brief question or point would be appreciated. Yes.
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah, Rupert Webb, Arran District Council. Is it really important that we compete with Google and yourselves for top quality individuals? Can we not make more of the ones that we have and get them using these apps better so that, well, apps is probably the wrong word, but to allow them to do the developments themselves? I think we've got the will to change.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's the budget rather than anything else at the moment that we're struggling with.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And I think, to answer your question, the technology is getting better and better all the time. It's getting easier to use. Like, David's from our partner, Darren, and we trained him in 20 minutes yesterday on how to do a whole bunch of complicated stuff. So it is getting easier, and we can train people up. I think what sometimes gets missed is there's a vision for the authority. It's very high level. That doesn't get translated into what that means to the different teams and people who are going to be working on it. If they're not brought into the vision, that training, that change in their role becomes a lot more difficult to affect. But yes, we can train them up, but we need to translate that vision so that it means something to them, so they get enthusiastic and behind it, and then we can train them on how to use the tools to improve what they're doing.
Yes, gentlemen, thanks again. Again, just name the organisation.
Andy Bates from Verizon. Similar kind of theme on the skills gap. I completely agree that everybody's competing with skills in the market. There's 400 local authorities, 400 plus in the UK, maybe 500 similar bodies, full with small IT departments and good skills embedded in small budgets. One of my personal frustrations is being able to glue all of that together as one customer, but I appreciate every local authority needs to be different for whatever reason. What are your views on commonality, as in how much could be reused and reworked across local authorities versus how much needs to be bespoke and tailored on an individual basis?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. We've been discussing this over the past year, actually, and what we try to do is accommodate for 80% of the needs across the market, with the acknowledgement that there is that 20% that will always be a little bit different. And so by creating the platform to accommodate 80% of the needs, and then getting our staff experts and rolling it out quickly, efficiently, in a really nice way, then we can spend whatever budget there is on the 20% that makes it more valuable to the council. Now, that's been our approach to the whole thing. You can never get 100% of everyone's requirement to do one thing, but we can package 80% of it. And I think that's important because, like, if there's other vendors like Squiz and Barron who have started to crack some of these problems. I think if you look at the procurement of these holistically, and look at vendors who can operate across the whole platform, and then spend the money just on the bits that you need to customise, you're going to get a much quicker and better result than procuring everything individually and then trying to stitch it all together yourselves, because it just takes too long.
Any other questions? In that, go for a quick brief second one, and then we'll.
So Paul Shetley of the Australian Department of the Digital Transformation Office has just signed a collaboration agreement with the UK GDS. Yes. What are your views on if that's going to help us all or help Australia, as you seem to be particularly gifted in the Australian UK market?
Yeah, I think that the GDS concentration of skills to provide a central body within the government that can provide these skill sets out to the rest of the government, I think that's been a really good thing. And that's now happening in Australia. There's a central team being created. They can then provide some of these skills, and they can attract the talent that they need to then do that. And if anything that can be shared across different bodies and authorities is a good thing. And so we're actually helping. We actually do some work with GDS and the central Australian body as well to help them provide those skills as well.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Absolutely fascinating presentation. Lots of food for thought. Squiz will be out there in the foyer and be able to talk to you about their product offer and their advice and their experience, so please do take full advantage of that. For now, though, please put your hands together to thank them in the usual way.